It's Wednesday, June 29. In the headlines, the government will not extend SOE order. Member of Parliament wants highway toll agreement renegotiated. Regionally, Piarco International Airport, the best in the Caribbean. And in sports, Rovman Powell is West Indies vice captain for T20 series. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I am Simone Absalom Gale. The government will not be seeking an extension of the state of public emergency SOE imposed in St. Catherine on June 17. Minister of National Security, Dr. Horace Chang, made the announcement in the House of Representatives on Tuesday afternoon.
And on the advice of the heads of the security forces, we are satisfied that the declaration of a state of emergency has allowed the security forces to bring the area under some level of control. The strategy will be reshaped and to maintain the current status quo as necessary. However, if there's any further change in the situation, we'll advise nations what further steps can be taken if it needs to return to a state of public emergency. But at this point, we'll not ask for an extension. We'll allow the current 14 days to expire, and the security forces have pledged to use whatever current tools they have, and to make strategic deployment to maintain the status quo.
The current measure is due to expire on Thursday, June 30. Dr. Chang used the opportunity to highlight that the SOE proved successful in reducing criminal activity.
The situation has improved significantly. In fact, of the 10 days preceding the declaration, there were 15 murders in St. Catherine. There were 4 since the declaration, and in fact, in the last few days, absolutely none, taking place in 2 police divisions, north and south, where in fact the gang conflict has seen increased activity for the last 2 months. The 10 days preceding was a peak, and the government thought appropriate to so declare.
Meanwhile, Dr. Chang noted that the government and the opposition agreed that changes to the emergency powers regulations are needed, but that more time is required to ensure that they are in keeping with the Constitution.
We'll now continue to review the regulations. We'll take a look at, we'll again further examine what has been recommended by the opposition and seek to come to a set of regulations that can be used where the level of violence increases above the capacity of normal policing.
Opposition leader Mark Golding, in his remarks, said it was a wise decision not to seek an extension on the government's part.
The ruling of the Constitutional Court was a profound juncture in our jurisprudence because it assessed the format of the regulations for states of public emergency, which were largely in a form that had been developed many, many decades ago. I think actually in wartime conditions, and the extent to which they could be used given the current constitutional arrangements that we have, of course, including the Charter of Rights, which was passed into law by consensus in 2011. It could not have happened without consensus. Violating that by unconstitutional measures is a risky way for the state to proceed because the compensation arrangements are such that it could be a huge cost to the public purse if one doesn't move wisely forward. So I'm glad that the government has decided to spend the time to try and get the regulations in a form that will be compliant with the Constitution going forward, and I welcome that decision.
Mr. Golding says the opposition is more in favor of zones of special operations.
To the people of St. Catherine, I would say this. We would like to see a continuation of the imposition of law and order. We would like to see a continuation of the presence of the security forces in the areas where there has been high levels of violence. We do not believe that there's any reason why the expiration of the state of emergency should change that. We believe if the concern is about the role of the military, we would be in favor of a zone of special operations being declared in the hotspot areas to maintain law and order until this legislative solution can be brought to Parliament and passed, so that we can then get to a situation where the police have the legal tools to deal with identified violence producers who need to be removed from the communities where they're prone to creating mayhem, but where the current rules and laws don't easily allow that to be addressed.
Member of Parliament for South East St. Catherine, Robert Miller, has joined the call to delay the planned increase in toll rates. The increased toll rates are set to be implemented on July 2, and CEO of the Toll Authority of Jamaica, Lerone Leng, says it cannot be delayed. Mr. Leng cites increased costs in maintenance and operation as reasons for the toll increase, and argues that the authority cannot absorb the cost at this particular time. However, the South East St. Catherine MP has written to the Minister of Transport and Mining, Only Shaw, asking him to intervene. He wants the highway toll agreement to be renegotiated.
The constituents are of the belief that this negotiation, this agreement that was inked way back by the then administration in 2001 has been erroneous and need to be negotiated. As a matter of fact, with my discussion with the citizens of the constituency, they are of the belief that an increase at this time, rightly due every year at the first Saturday of July annually, which was inked back then, but they are of the belief at this time, because of various factors, which includes but not limited to inflation, high oil prices on the world market, and the pandemic, of course, they are of the belief that at this time that there should be no increase to be granted to Trans-Jamaica Highway.
Director of Public Prosecutions Paula Llewellyn has announced her intention to seek the death penalty for Rashane Barnett, who is accused of murdering a family of 5. On Tuesday, an officer from the DPP's office told the Supreme Court Justice Leighton Pusey, in respect of the matter and based on the nature of the allegations, the DPP has taken the decision to file the death penalty notice under Section 3, subsection 1 of the Offences Against the Person Act. Rashane Barnett appeared in court on Tuesday to answer to charges on 5 counts of the murders of 15-year-old Commander Smith, 11-year-old Sharalee Smith, 5-year-old Rafaela Smith, and 23-month-old Keshawn Henry, and their mother, 31-year-old Kamisha Wright, all of New Road, Cocoa-Peace, Chapelton District in Clarendon last week. Read the contracts carefully. That warning comes from Chief Executive Officer of the Consumer Affairs Commission, Dulcie Allen, for persons purchasing pre-owned motor vehicles. She explains that there are times when complaints are made regarding some unfair contract terms. Ms. Allen told JIS that there are persons who buy motor vehicles without doing the requisite due diligence, which includes taking a mechanic to examine the unit. The CEO says in April and May, the Consumer Affairs Commission resolved 124 cases of complaints, securing approximately $3.8 million in compensation on behalf of aggrieved consumers. Among the complaints were matters relating to the purchase of motor vehicles, electrical appliances, and furniture. Over the next decade, the number of people who have lived 5 or more years after their cancer diagnosis is projected to increase approximately 30%. Jamaica is no stranger to these statistics. According to the Pan American Health Organization, cancer is one of the leading causes of death in Jamaica, and breast cancer is the leading cancer among Jamaican women, followed by cervical cancer. We looked beyond the diagnosis with 2 cancer survivors during PBCJ's Morning Coffee Guest show recently. We spoke to Assistant Treasurer at Jamaica Reach to Recovery, Julie Lynch, and Hygiena Reid.
June is Cancer Survivors Month. The activities of Jamaica Reach to Recovery bring into focus life after the diagnosis.
There's life after cancer. Having a diagnosis is not the end of the road. It's a bump in the road, and we must acknowledge the bump, but it's not the end. And so I appreciate things being done by the Ministry of Health and Wellness and different programs on, but more can always be done to let others be aware of the illness. We have our meetings once per month. With COVID, we had gone online for a stretch, but we just recently resumed face-to-face in May. And we continue to meet every second Tuesday at the Webster Memorial United Church. And it's really good because before COVID, we had about 80-odd ladies on average each month coming to the meetings to just rap, just hang out. We get guest presenters to come to teach us how to eat better, how to live well, how to make the best of the current situation that we're in.
Cancer is a disease in which some of the body cells grow uncontrollably and spread to other parts of the body. Cancer kills by growing into key organs, nerves, or blood vessels and interfering with and impairing their function. According to PAHO, the age standardized incidence rate for breast cancer alone is 43.1% per 100,000 women. The ladies say it's a life-changing diagnosis, but patients should not lose hope.
First thing, accept whatever is happening to you. That once you accept whatever is happening, whether it's breast, whatever cancer it may be, just accept, pray, take it to the Lord, leave it right there. And once you have as small as a mustard seed of faith, you will make it.
All right.
Just be happy, eat right, don't just dull up yourself.
Mm-hmm. Your words of encouragement.
I started ball if you want ball. If you get it out of your system, ball if you want ball. Just get it out. And that is therapy in itself, to just cry. Sometimes you have to just do a little thing. And then afterwards, don't stay there. Get past that stage of crying and start to choose happiness.
Ms. Lynch says support is key.
Support is very, very important for good mental health and for just taking the journey with others. It really, really is important. So family support, friends support, and we have the group, Jamaica Reach to Recovery, which is the arm of the Jamaica Cancer Society. It's a breast cancer support arm.
Most recommendations are that you should have your first screening mammogram at age 40 or certainly by age 50. As a country, we are currently screening below 10% of the eligible population. For PBCJ News, I'm Raquel Robinson.
In the business report, Minister of Labor and Social Security, Carl Samuda, speaks to productivity in a digitized world. We have that story, plus your regular market updates from reporter Danita Rodney.
But Jamaica's move towards higher technological advancement is being hampered by low levels of foreign and local investments. Already, although we are making progress in some sectors, we must attract more investment for greater growth.
That was Minister of Labor and Social Security, Carl Samuda. He was speaking at the Jamaica Productivity Center World Productivity Day Forum under the theme, Productivity in a Digitized World. The forum was geared towards figuring out how to enhance productivity in a post-pandemic labor market through technology and creating a new normal in a digitized world. During his presentation, Minister Samuda says that there is the need to train the labor force in new technology as it is critical for the advancement of the country.
We must also reorient, nurture, and train the labor force for these technological opportunities and allow them to participate actively in the process. Technology is the way forward. The use of appropriate technology is critical for advancement and development in the industrial world.
He also says that investment into new technologies will result in higher labor productivity.
Investment in research and development will empower and enable firms and businesses to introduce new technological advances. And those who innovate have their higher labor productivity than others.
Now for your market updates. In foreign exchange trading for Tuesday, June 28, the US dollar sold for an average of $151.52. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $119.70. The pound sterling traded for $185.67, and the euro sold for an average of $162.10. The following reflects the movement of the JSE indices in Tuesday's trading session. The JSE index declined by 816 points to close at over 300,000 units. The junior market index declined by 58 points to close at over 4,000 units. The combined market index declined by 1,287 points to close at over 300,000 units. And the All Jamaican Composite Index declined by 883 points to close at over 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 107 stocks, of which 33 advanced, 57 declined, and 17 traded firm. Stocks advanced for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited Variable Preference, and AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited. Stocks declined for 1834 Investments Limited, Access Financial Services Limited, and Berger Paints Jamaica Limited. Trading firm were Community and Workers of Jamaica CCU Deferred Share, Consolidated Bakers Jamaica Limited, and Epley 7.50% Preference Shares due 2024. The following companies represent the overall volume leaders: Dollar Financial Services Limited with over 9 million units, Mailpack Group Limited with over 2 million units, and Panjam Investment Limited with over 1 million units. In regional stocks, in Trinidad and Tobago, Clico Investment Fund was the only active security with over 14,000 shares. On the Barbados Stock Exchange, Government of Barbados Bond Series B was the volume leader with over 5,000 shares, followed by Cave Shepherd and Company Limited, which traded 1,000 shares. In market data for oil prices gained for a fourth straight session with tight supply worries offsetting concerns about a weaker global economy. Brent crude was up 87 cents or $118.85, and the West Texas Intermediate crude was up $1.20 to $112.96 a barrel. That was the business report on PBC Jamaica. I'm Danita Rodney.
In regional news, Grenada's Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell spent his first full day in office on Monday after being sworn in as the country's 9th Prime Minister. Mr. Mitchell led the National Democratic Congress, NDC, to victory, taking 9 of the 15 seats at stake. He promised that all decisions will be carefully assessed, ensuring there are no negative repercussions for Grenadians and the economy.
We need to run our country based on merit, based on hard work, based on the desire and the willingness to overcome and to find solutions to the challenges that face us. We will not move forward or prosper as a people if the sole basis for job selection, for promotion, for the award of contracts is party loyalty or personal loyalty. If we continue with this approach, we will be doing ourselves and the several generations of Grenadians to come a huge disfavor. And so under my leadership, I intend to break that vicious cycle of nepotism.
Meantime, the political leader of the New National Party, Dr. Keith Mitchell, says despite their defeat on June 23 general elections, his party is committed to playing its part in Parliament in the interest of nation building. He says his party is reflecting on where it went wrong in the eyes of the people.
Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell, in thanking his supporters for their backing in the 2022 general elections, is reassuring Grenadians that the New National Party will rise from the ashes despite its recent defeat. Dr. Mitchell says while there is a level of disappointment in the results, it has opened their eyes to some of their shortcomings over the years and is now in the stage of reforming the party.
To have to be frank and honest in those deliberations. The reviews and discussions have already begun and will no doubt continue in the immediate period. It must be clear, we are entering a traditional phase, and I see my fundamental role as facilitating a new emerging leadership that will ensure that the NNP remains at the vanguard of the people's aspiration. As leader, it is my responsibility to ensure that the party remains strong and viable, and always ready to take up the mantle of governance again.
Mitchell extends his best wishes to the new government and commits to work along with them in nation building for all Grenadians.
We shall play a constructive role as opposition, understanding that any opposition will be on philosophical issues that we think might be in the better interests of this beautiful country. While we understand every new government will come with different ideas and approaches, we are urging the new administration to positively consider not dismantling programs that especially benefit the ordinary people of this country.
The opposition leader was addressing the nation for the first time after losing the 2022 general election. For GBN News, I am Rena Pett Thomas reporting.
Trinidad and Tobago's Piarco International Airport has been declared the best airport in the Caribbean. The announcement was made at the 2022 Skytrax World Airport Awards. Skytrax World Airport Star Rating, introduced 20 years ago, has become a global benchmark of quality evaluation for the airport industry. The Piarco Airport was also named the third best in the global region, Central America and the Caribbean, only being beaten by Panama's Tucumán International Airport and Costa Rica's San Jose International Airport. It is the second consecutive year that Piarco Airport has claimed this honor. Hamad International Airport in Doha, Qatar, was awarded the best airport in the world. Over now to news from Barbados. As the island prepares for more intense weather, there are concerns about the readiness of the island's power grid. It was severely tested during the passage of Hurricane Elsa last year, with many communities left in the dark for up to a week. However, the Barbados Light and Power Company is confident that the network is in a better state of readiness this time around. Their team allowed CBC News to see firsthand some of the work being done to make the grid more hurricane resilient.
At this point in time, we are ready. All of our systems are ready to respond to any weather system that may come this year.
Leader of the Hurricane Restoration Team, Johan Graves, assuring Barbadians the Barbados Light and Power Company is in a better position to respond and restore electricity in the aftermath of a storm or hurricane. That was the major test last year, after Hurricane Elsa lashed Barbados with high winds and heavy rains, causing widespread damage to the utilities network. The Director of Operations explains the company moved early to secure stock and equipment to respond to any emergency situations this year.
Last year we started to see the issues around supply chain around the world, and as such from last year normally we would normally order our hurricane stock around March of the year. We started ordering from October last year, and believe it or not, only up to this month we would have gotten some of those orders that were ordered since October last year. So it showed us that we did make a good move by ordering those things early.
Further afield, Ghislaine Maxwell was sentenced to 20 years in prison on Tuesday for helping the sex offender and globe-trotting financier Jeffrey Epstein sexually abuse teenage girls. The British socialite was convicted in December of 5 charges, including sex trafficking a minor, for recruiting and grooming 4 girls to have sexual encounters with her then-boyfriend Epstein between 1994 and 2004.
Shackled and wearing a blue prison uniform, Ghislaine Maxwell heard her fate from a judge at the end of a nearly 4-hour sentencing that saw several of her alleged victims give statements, sometimes looking directly at Maxwell. One was Sarah Ransom, who broke down in tears in court and said she twice tried to commit suicide after being victimized by Maxwell. After the sentencing, she told me she was pleased.
I'm feeling pretty amazing, okay? I'm feeling great. But there is This is a six-year journey for me. Incredible highs, some really, really, really deep lows for me.
Maxwell briefly spoke in court, saying she was sorry for the pain her victims felt, but she did not take responsibility for the crimes.
What was going through your head when you heard Ghislaine speak in court?
Ghislaine lacks soul. For me, they were just words. But they were words that I never thought I would ever hear, is saying, I'm sorry.
Lawyers for the victims were satisfied with the outcome.
Today showed us that individuals can be held accountable irrespective of power and privilege.
Maxwell, the daughter of a British newspaper magnate, was once part of an elite global social circle that included some of the world's most powerful people. But at her month-long trial last December, prosecutors said she also facilitated the trafficking of women, some as young as 14, to be sexually abused by her longtime partner, Jeffrey Epstein, and allegedly other rich men. Epstein was arrested and charged in July 2019, but was found dead in his jail cell a month later.
Before delivering her sentence, the judge said Maxwell's crimes were heinous and predatory, and said she deserves a strong sentence, partially because of her lack of remorse. Ghislaine Maxwell is 60 years old. If she serves her entire sentence, that means she wouldn't be released until she's 80. Gabriel Elizondo, Al Jazeera, New York.
In sports, reigning world long jump champion Tajay Gale is now in the United States to undergo further evaluation on a knee injury he suffered at the National Senior Championships this past weekend. As more information comes to hand, we will have more on this story. The final 24-member squad for the senior reggae girls to the CONCACAF Women's Championship in Mexico has been released. The squad consists of 13 players that were part of the 2019 Women's World Cup team, including Manchester City's Khadija Bunny Shaw, Jodie Brown, Havana Saloon, Trudy Carter, and Sydney Schneider. The Reggae Girls, drawn in Group A, take on Mexico on July 4, then World Cup champions the United States on July 7 and Haiti on July 11. The two top teams in both groups will qualify for the 2023 FIFA World Cup. Middle order batsman Rovman Powell will serve as West Indies vice-captain in next month's 3-match T20 International Series as the Windies prepare for their first outing in this format since the resignation of former skipper Kieran Pollard. John Birch reports.
West Indies will face Bangladesh in the first of 3 T20s on July 2nd before moving on to 3 one-day international matches starting on July 10th. Powell, who stood out during the West Indies T20 series win over England back in January, is promoted to the position previously held by the new captain, Nicholas Pooran. There's also a T20 recall for left-arm pacer Obed McCoy, who has recovered from injury, and there are also returns from wicketkeeper batsman Devon Thomas and pacer Kimo Paul. The West Indies T20 squad reads Nicholas Pooran, captain, Rovman Powell, vice-captain, Shamar Brooks, Akil Hussain, Alzari Joseph, Brandon King, Kyle Mears, Obed McCoy, Kimo Paul, Romario Shepherd, Odin Smith, Devon Thomas and Hayden Walsh Jr., with Dominic Drakes as the reserve. Meantime, spinner Gudakesh Muti was named on the West Indies ODI team that includes Pooran, vice-captain Shea Hope, Shamar Brooks, Casey Carthy, Akil Hussain, Alzari Joseph, Brandon King, Kyle Mears, Kimo Paul, Anderson Phillip, Rovman Powell, and Jaden Seals with Romario Shepherd as the reserve. Meantime, West Indies head coach Phil Simmons says he is grateful the Caribbean side was able to win back-to-back test matches. Simmons made the comment after the West Indies' 10-wicket win over Bangladesh on Monday in the second test to sweep the series. He says the way the team won is not the important factor as long as it's done within the rules of the game.
Winning is what I am about. And the more we can win, the happier things are for me. I think when you look back at the 2 series, we've worked hard in the 2 series and we've come out victorious. This one maybe wasn't as hard as the first one, but the important thing is at the end of the day, the W is behind the 2 test matches. And it's been a long time. It's been since 21 this time against the same Bangladesh in Bangladesh is when we won 2 test matches. So you have to take all those things and you have to sit back and enjoy them.
Simmons says the series win is due to the commitment of the players.
Series win is about the players who are here and the players who are working hard to get the result that we got there. And I think it started from even before we came back from Pakistan with the work that was done in Antigua before we got there. So I think credit to all the players who participated and who were wrong and didn't participate.
For the news on PBCJ, I am John Birch.
And that's the news on PBCJ. Thank you so much for watching.